Welcome to Justice in Scrubs, the podcast where we explore the intersection of medicine and law. I'm your co-host, personal injury lawyer Richard Hastings, and I'm joined by...
Hi, I'm Dr. Jeff Michaelis, primary care physician.
Before we dive in, it's important to remember that the information we provide is for informational purposes only. Every situation is unique, and decisions regarding your health or legal matters should be made after consulting with your own doctor or lawyer. Our aim is to inform and empower, but personal circumstances require personalized advice. We'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, findagreatattorney.com. If you or a loved one has been injured in an accident, finding the right lawyer can make all the difference in getting the compensation and support you deserve. That's where findagreatattorney.com comes in. They're a free lawyer referral service that connects accident and injury victims with the best attorneys in their area. With findagreatattorney.com, you can be confident that you're getting a highly qualified and experienced lawyer who will fight for your rights. The best part? Their service is completely free. So you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. If you're in need of legal assistance, head over to findagreatattorney.com and let them help you find one of the best lawyers in your area for your case. Today we'll be tackling a crucial issue affecting millions of Americans: the exorbitant cost of prescription drugs and its impact upon patients, especially the elderly. In today's episode, we'll explore why drug prices are so high, the role of pharmacy benefit managers, and practical strategies to help you save money on your medications. So let's dive in. I have heard that U.S. prescription drug prices are significantly higher in this country than in other countries. Can you shed some light on this?
Yes, thank you for that question. United States drug prices are 2.5 to 3 times higher than most other countries. 2.5 to 3 times higher. And why is that? We're going to talk about why. We're also going to talk about the good news, that there is alternatives to decrease your medical costs. And there's a new company that's disrupting the supply chain. We will talk about that also.
So one of the challenges, as I understand it, is that because drug prices are so high, some people, and especially seniors, have to make the choice every month as to whether or not they buy their prescription meds or whether or not they pay for food or heating or other necessities. And how does that affect the elderly especially?
That is absolutely true. It's incredible. We have a rich country, and 1 out of 5 elderly cannot afford their medicines. What they do is they take them maybe once a week. If they're supposed to take it twice a day, they take it once a day, and they choose between food, heat, rent, and medication. It's really impactful on the elderly. Also, it decreases their socialization. They become more isolated because they can't afford to pay for the gas to see their family or to go out with their friends. And not taking your medicines on time or properly significantly increases your chances of going to the hospital and decreases your health.
So let's talk about Medicare, prescription drug coverage, and the donut hole. So many people believe that Medicare prescription drug coverage takes care of all medication costs for the seniors. Can you explain why this is not always the case?
Sure. There's something called the donut hole, which means that initially your medicines are covered with a small copay. Then once you go above cost, total cost, not copay, total cost of $4,600, you enter the donut hole where you have to pay at least 25% of the medication. Now, some of these patients are on 10, 11, 12 medications, so it quickly adds up. As a matter of fact, 65% of the bankruptcies in the United States are from medical costs. And most of the patients who go bankrupt have insurance. And a significant cause of that is the medication costs.
So let's talk now about the role of pharmacy benefit managers. Can you explain what a pharmacy benefit manager is in the prescription drug landscape?
Yes, thank you. So when managed care started coming out in the 80s and 90s, managed care developed tiers for medicines, and they also developed formularies. So they needed a manager to handle the tiers and the formularies. And so these PBMs, pharmacy benefit managing companies, evolved. And they claimed that they were great negotiators. So what in fact they do is they negotiate for medicines with the drug manufacturers by getting rebates or kickbacks. So they don't choose which medicine is the most cost effective, which is the most effective. They choose which one they get more money in their pocket. So let's say, for argument's sake, there's a blood pressure medicine that's in one category, and they have a choice between 7 or 8 different manufacturers. They choose the manufacturer that gives them the most money. And this money, the kickbacks or rebates, does not trickle down to the patients. As a matter of fact, there was a study, the Congress got so much complaints about this, that in 2021, they had a study, and it showed that PBMs not only do not decrease patient costs, they increase patient costs. And Congress actually developed a bill to increase the transparency of PBMs, but it was voted down by Congress.
So let me see if I understand this. So you have Medicare and Medicaid, and then they're the ones that pay the different pharmaceutical companies or the CVSs of the world to prescribe the medicine for the patient. But now you have these PBMs, and these PBMs are under Medicare and Medicaid. They're like underneath the umbrella, and they manage supposedly the prices of these drugs under the guise of making them more affordable for the consumer.
Correct. Now, so let's. I think the easiest way to go through, because it is complicated, is let's take a prescription, right? You go to the doctor, you get a prescription. The doctor sends the prescription to the pharmacy. Well, the pharmacy, before they give you the medicine, they send a note or a message to the PBMs, and the PBMs adjudicate the claim. So they look at the claim first to see if you're eligible. Second, they check the tier that the medicine might be on under your insurance. And then they figure out the copay. So the PBMs administrate the process of the pharmacy giving you the medication.
So let's just for purposes of clarity. So if you have a medical condition, we'll just call it X, and there are 3 options for treating X, 1, 2, and 3. And if your doctor prescribes option 2 and gives you a prescription, that goes to the pharmacy. Suppose the PBMs have not approved of that number 2 as the best medicine, but number 1. And by the best medicine, I mean it's cheaper for the pharmaceutical companies and it's better for the pharmacies rather than it improves the health of the patient. What happens in that scenario? How does that work?
First of all, it's beneficial for the PBMs, not the pharmacy. The pharmacy gets a dispensary fee no matter what.
Okay.
So it's a benefit for the PBM. So what happens is the patient will be told your medicine is not covered. And then what happens is the pharmacy will message the doctor and say, do you mind changing the medicine to number 1 instead of number 2? And that adds a lot of stress to the office. Years ago, I would handwrite a prescription, hand it to the patient, and the patient would get it filled, right? And they would pay a copay or a small amount of money. Nowadays, I would say 50% of my prescriptions get bounced. And then we get a message, it's not covered, or we need a pre-authorization. And that adds layers. I would say that about half of a full-time equivalent in my office takes care of that all day long. That just adds incredible cost and stress because the patient wants their medicine. They might be running out of their medicine. So they might not get their medicine for a day or two because of the PBM balancing the medicine.
So I just know from personally that I have a prescription for an inhaler. And I had always been taking the same type of inhaler. The last time I went to the pharmacy, they said, your doctor sent us a different prescription for a different inhaler. So from what you're telling me, it's not that the doctor decided that this is a better drug for me to take as a patient. That was the PBM stating that they were no longer going to cover my old medicine, but wanted to cover this new medicine.
Absolutely.
So who is or what makes up the PBM? What is that?
The PBM is just a standalone company that's actually owned by the insurance companies. The three biggest PBMs are Express Scripts, Cigna, and Optum.
So they're owned by the insurance company?
Yes.
So you have Medicare and Medicaid.
And private insurance.
Right, that are going to be paying for whatever medicine you take. But the PBMs that are owned by the insurance companies dictate what is going to be covered and what is not going to be covered.
Absolutely.
And this is to line the pockets of the insurance companies, and it has almost a detrimental effect for the patient.
And the doctor's office.
And the doctor's office.
Yes. It adds so many layers of complexity and cost.
And the reason they do this is because they get, I think you called it, the nice word is rebates.
Right.
But what I think the vernacular would probably be is a kickback.
Absolutely.
So they're paid by the insurance company to make this drug. So if it's drug 1, 2, and 3, and my doctor prescribes drug 2, the insurance companies will pay more of a rebate or a kickback on drug 1 so that when you're prescribed drug 1, the insurance company is saving money.
Correct. And it's not costing you less.
So I don't even understand how this PBM comes into existence, because it appears to be, and from what you're saying, it's all about money. And it's completely not about the wellness or patient care.
Absolutely. It's just a middleman that's sucking money out. Now, you need someone to administrate the formulary. You need someone to administrate the copays. You need someone to check the eligibility. But the way they're doing it is not beneficial to anybody but themselves.
And the reason I'm wearing red today is because we've discussed this before, and I see red when I discuss this topic with you. And my understanding is that Congress is the entity that basically put these PBMs together to oversee all of the payment for Medicare and Medicaid.
I'm not sure of that. I can check on that. I'm not sure of that.
But they oversee it, and they certainly have control over it.
Yes, yes.
And if they wanted to amend that or change it in any way, shape, or form, Congress could do that.
Yes.
But we also talked about the fact that one of the largest and biggest and strongest lobbies out there that donates millions of dollars to politicians is the pharmaceutical lobby.
Absolutely. Now there was, let me find her name. Her name was, there was a senator that came up with a, here it is. The senator came up with, Senator Maria Cantwell introduced the great legislation in 2021 to increase the transparency of the PBMs. And 0 people voted for it. 0 senators voted for it. Zero.
So this was a bill to make it easier for the consumer to see what the PBMs were doing as far as not providing the medicine they were prescribed and what medicine they ultimately received.
Correct.
And this senator or this congressman put this bill forward, and you're telling me 0 people voted for it.
Right, and it died in the Congress.
And obviously this is a bill to make things better for the consumer.
Right. There is good news. There is good news that there are some companies that are out there to disrupt this, and we can talk about that.
Okay, I just want to talk about the bad news for right now.
Okay.
So we have this situation that kind of monitors and oversees and approves what drugs will go through the process for a doctor to say, I prescribe drug number 1, and the pharmaceutical company can prescribe it because the PBMs have approved of it.
Yes.
But otherwise, if it's not on their list of big rebated or kicked back companies or drugs, then they'll deny it.
Right.
And there's no way of getting around that. They just send a note back to the doctor. The doctor's practice gets disrupted because now they have to come up with another script for another drug that obviously at the time they didn't know would not be approved or was the only drug that would be approved. So it completely turns your practice upside down.
Right. And remember, we have a lot of patients, and our patients have lots of different insurances. So there's no way for me to know what your insurance company will pay for. There's no way. The only way I'll know is the patient will go to the pharmacy and get a denial.
And you know, it's amazing. In the personal injury world, we will have clients that need an MRI, for example, because they have a medical condition that the doctor cannot tell or give them good advice unless and until they have an MRI. They prescribe the MRI, they go to get the MRI, and they're told that the insurance company has not approved of the MRI. So then the doctor's office has to get in touch with the insurance company and give further information, which in my opinion wouldn't be needed because they're being treated for a medical condition that requires an MRI. But the doctor then has to contact the insurance company and basically advocate for the patient to say why they need an MRI.
Welcome to my world. Now, I would say that every doctor has at least one half FTE administrating pre-authorization and PBM problems.
And what is an FTE?
A full-time equivalent, an employee, a full-time equivalent employee. So let's say an employee makes $80,000 a year or something. The cost to each doctor is about $40,000.
And most of the time, I would think that this individual convinces the insurance company as to why this is necessary and needed. And then the insurance company, I would think, approves of it.
I would say the approval rate is probably about 95%. So you're administrating a 95% yes, right? But you're adding so many layers of cost.
And that's on the doctor's side, the doctor's office, how maddening and expensive and frustrating that is. On the other side of that coin is the patient who's going through horrific pain, who doesn't know what's wrong with the individual, who needs this urgent care. And when they go to get their MRI, for example, they're told, no, it wasn't approved. So now it gets knocked back another 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks. And then they go back and then they find out what they have. And then the doctor in certain instances will say, it would have been very helpful if we found this out 4 weeks ago or 6 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago, because there are things that we could have been doing to get you into better medical shape. We wanted to take a quick break to remind you about our sponsor, findagreatattorney.com. Dealing with the aftermath of an accident or injury can be overwhelming. And the last thing you want to worry about is finding the right lawyer. Findagreatattorney.com simplifies the process by connecting you with one of the top attorneys in your area who specializes in your specific type of case. Whether you've been injured in a car accident, suffered a slip and fall, or experienced medical malpractice, findagreatattorney.com has a network of experienced lawyers ready to help. And remember, their service is completely free, so you can focus on your recovery without worrying about the cost of legal representation. If you or someone you know needs legal assistance, don't hesitate to visit findagreatattorney.com and let them match you with one of the best lawyers in your area for your needs.
So what I used to do is if I had concerns that this patient needs an urgent CAT scan, I would just send them to the emergency room because I couldn't wait. I couldn't clinically wait because I was concerned about the patient, that I would not wait for the pre-authorization. I would just send them to the emergency room, which adds a lot of cost. And also, it's not the best place for a patient to be. You know, they spend all day in the emergency room. to finally get their CAT scan. So, yes.
And this is on the health insurance side. My world is dealing with the liability insurance carriers. And it's the same thing in many, many cases where, I mean, they're just ruthless and brutal, and they don't care about fairness. They just want to pay the least amount of money possible so they can increase the value of the stock so their shareholders and the people that work there, make more in dividends and the stock prices go up.
Yeah, the only relatively good news is now there's some technology and then there's some websites that sort of administrate this pre-authorization quicker. So it used to take weeks. Now it probably takes days. But still, it's a delay.
And when you think about it, I mean, if you're a doctor that gives a prescription for an MRI for your patient, what is the benefit for you to just make up a prescription where they don't need an MRI? I mean, what's the point of that?
Right. There is no point.
Okay, so I think we've had enough of the bad news. Let's talk about the good news.
Okay.
So let's talk first about the options about getting discounted prescriptions.
Yes. So there's some great discount cards out there. The most common is GoodRx. You just go on the website, you plug in your prescription name of the prescription and your location. And what it'll do is it will list the pharmacies that are in the area and the prices of the medication. And it can be significantly, it can be 70%, 50% less than the cost with insurance. This is without insurance. So GoodRx negotiates directly with the manufacturers and the pharmacies. So it's goodrx.com.
So let me just tell you a short story. So I was saying that I use this inhaler, this puffer. So I don't have insurance that covers that. So I went to refill my prescription, and I was told, I think it was at, I forget the pharmacy, maybe Walmart or not Walmart, Rite Aid. And they told me that the prescription for 1 month supply was $400. So I go on GoodRx, and the same prescription without any insurance and without paying GoodRx for a card, and this isn't a commercial for GoodRx, is $200 at CVS.
Yes.
At Walmart, that same prescription without insurance and without a card is $110. So you go from $400 to $110, and to me, it's mind-boggling. I mean, I don't have insurance for that. I don't pay some service like GoodRx, but because I go online and get, GoodRx, they say to me, now it's going to be $110. So explain this, if you know, to me, and that is, how does GoodRx make money? I'm not paying them. I don't pay them a subscription cost. I don't pay them a one-time fee. How do they make money?
They make money by selling ads on their websites. They make zero money on the prescription. They just make money on selling websites.
And then the interesting thing I had heard was that I think there's a class action lawsuit or a mass arbitration lawsuit against GoodRx because they had been sharing, as I understand it, medical data with advertisers who would want to market certain products or services to them based upon the client's medical, challenge. And it's just interesting how this works. So GoodRx is one. What else is out there?
Yeah, there's something called Script Save Well prescription, American Pharmacy, and Kroger's. Kroger's has its own prescription card. And there's another thing you can do, is you can go on the website for the medication. And there's a lot of help. There's a lot of patient assistance programs, PAPs. So if the medicine's expensive, especially low-income patients can receive sometimes free or a significant decrease in costs by going on the prescription website, not the manufacturer's website. So let's say your inhaler was Inhaler X. You go on Inhaler X website. All the major, most common prescriptions have their own website. You go on the website and you just look for a patient assistance program, PAP. And most manufacturers have a discount especially for low-income patients. You just have to fill out the form, which you can fill out online, and then they'll give you a code that you can bring to the pharmacy to have a decreased cost. So please go on the website of the prescription, and there frequently is a significant decrease in cost. Now, some of the newer medications that are really expensive, like the injectables, they have a discount for everybody. It's not just for low-income people. So if you have a prescription that's very expensive, go on the website, and you probably can get it significantly cheaper directly through the manufacturer.
So the other great advocate I find is the pharmacist. Because when I go to the pharmacy and I start to moan about the cost of these drug prices, the pharmacist is right there. This is ridiculous. This is out of control. They're charging way too much money. And the pharmacist will give you great ideas on how you can save money. And they'll say things like, go on the website, you can get this code. When you get the code, you can do it right on your phone now, get the code, give it to me, and then the cost will be X instead of X plus Y. So if you have questions, that's a great resource to utilize because I have found the pharmacists to be incredibly helpful, and they look to save you money because they're on the bandwagon of all this stuff costs way too much money.
Absolutely. Now, Walgreens has a great service. You can go on their website and you put in the medication and it tells you which coupon card is best for the specific medication. So Walgreens is a fantastic website to decrease your costs. Thank you for bringing that up. Also, you should discuss it with your doctor because your doctors know, they sometimes know what medicines are cheaper, what alternatives there are. Don't be afraid to ask your doctor about alternatives because doctors don't know the cost all the time, but you can say, I went to the pharmacy last time for the prescription, it was $500. Is there something cheaper? And then we can research it for you. Also, now another thing that happens because of the cost is the patients are smart. They take their medicines the day they see the doctor because they're embarrassed sometimes that they're not taking the medication, especially blood pressure pills. So what they do is sometimes they just take it the morning of the visit because they know their blood pressure is going to be checked. And they don't want to have high blood pressure. They want to have a good report from the doctor. But in fact, they're not taking the medicine on tomorrow or the day after. They take it on Mondays and Fridays because they can't afford it. So please be honest with your doctor. If you're not taking your medicine properly, there probably is an alternative to help you.
So maybe one of the things you should do, given these two suggestions, is make a list of the medicines that you take. What's the name of the medicine? What's the dosage that you take and how frequently you take it? And then discuss that with your pharmacist as far as how to get cheaper medicine and discuss it with your doctor as well.
Yeah, actually, with the doctor, I would bring your pills with you.
It's a great idea.
Just bring them with you because a lot of times you might not be taking them properly or there might be some confusion. Just bring them with you and then the nurse could write down on the bottle what it's for or something like that. Just get a brown bag and bring the pills with you.
So let's talk about someone that you're a great fan of, and that is Mark Cuban and his company. Can you tell us about that?
Thank you. Absolutely. Mark actually left Shark Tank to start a new company because he wants to disrupt this PBM issue. And what he's doing right now is he's purchasing the medications directly from the manufacturer, and he charges 15%, totally transparent. He charges 15% plus maybe a pharmacy dispensing fee. And you can go on his website. He does not accept insurances, but he can get these generic. Right now, he has about 100 of the most common generic medications, and he gives it to you for 15% above his cost. And it's a mail order situation. You get it mailed to your house. So if you're taking generic medications, and you can go on his website, Mark Cuban Cost Plus Plan, Mark Cuban Cost Plus Plan, drug plan. Go on his website to see if he administrates the medications that you have. He will significantly decrease the cost. And what he's doing is he just bought about a 20,000 square foot building, and he's actually going to start manufacturing generic medications. So he is totally taking over the supply chain of medications to decrease the cost for the patients. Mark Cuban, Cost Plus drug plan.
And my favorite businesses are disruptor businesses. A new company is launched that completely disrupts an existing business. And from what you're telling me, this company will do exactly that. I mean, if he could start to manufacture the medications, if he's buying them directly from the manufacturer, if he's adding a 15% markup and maybe a pharmacy upcharge, I mean, that's going to be incredible.
Incredible. Right now, he has 100 different generic medicines, but he's getting into actually regular medications that are not generic to help hospitals. He's getting into injectables. He's getting into a whole bunch of other medications that are expensive. Mark Cuban is incredible.
And, this is a type of business that, when you look at the PBMs that you were talking about, it's almost a situation where you have monopolies. There is no ability to pit one drug company against another to get a lower price. It's the PBMs dictating through their rebates and kickbacks what drug is going to be the drug du jour that gets covered by insurance. So Mark Cuban's company is going to do the absolute opposite of that, to make all of these drugs much more affordable.
Right, with total transparency. I mean, yes. So this is so much better than Congress trying to regulate it. Another company coming in to take care of it and disrupt it is much more efficient than having Congress regulate it. Because insurance companies can always get around regulations.
So let's talk now about preparing for a doctor's visit. What should patients bring when visiting their doctor as it relates to challenges that they're having?
Right. The first thing is, and we discussed this in the first podcast, is medications. Medications. Significant number of, especially elderly, do not take their medicines properly because of cost, but also because they forget or they see so many different doctors, and every doctor prescribes a couple of different medications. So when you go to your primary care physician, bring all the stuff. Bring it all. Bring the medication so they can administrate and help you make sure you're taking your medicines properly. So the first thing is medications.
And we talked about the fact that if you are the adult child of an elderly parent, it's a great idea to take over the monitoring of your parents' medication. And that is, you make sure you order it at the pharmacy, you pick it up, you bring it home, you put it in those pill boxes so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they know exactly what medicines they're supposed to take. Because if you could just explain again about what's the downside for an elderly patient in particular not taking their medicine on a regular basis.
Right. So I think we discussed it last time. 70% of elderly people are on high blood pressure medicine. High blood pressure medicine is huge. Now, if you don't take your blood pressure medicine properly, let's say you take it every other day. Your blood pressure is going to be normal every other day. It's not going to be normal the days you don't take it. So the blood pressure goes straight up when you stop taking your medication. So when your blood pressure goes up, it puts increased stresses on your arteries and your heart. And when you have increased stresses on your arteries, you get blood clots. And blood clots can lead to strokes that are irreversible. So you can have disabilities that are irreversible from high blood pressure. High blood pressure can affect your kidneys, it can affect your peripheral arteries, it can affect your brain, and it can affect your heart. So it is crucial to take your blood pressure medicine every single day.
And I think we also talked about the fact that one of the risks of not taking your medicine on a regular basis is it could create additional challenges like making you, especially in the elderly, a fall risk.
Right. Right, because you can have mini strokes, or we call multi-infarct dementia, and it can lead to balance problems that can cause falling, and it can cause dementia, actual dementia, because of these mini infarcts.
So one of the things that we do, talking about, going to the doctor and things that you should bring with you to the doctor, we always recommend to our personal injury clients that they bring with them what we refer to as a healthcare advocate. And the healthcare advocate is either a family member or a trusted friend. And the reason you bring a healthcare advocate with you is to give you confidence, to assist you in gathering the information, developing a plan, and following through so you make sure that you understand everything that the doctor says. And in some cases, it's a little overwhelming. And when you have, you're waiting in the doctor's office, perhaps in the examining room for 15, 20 minutes, the door flies open, the PA or the doctor comes in, they ask you 3 questions, they tell you they're going to see you in a month and a half, and they give you a prescription for something. And you don't even have questions answered. So what we tell people to do is write down the questions that you have. Have your healthcare advocate with you so you can get the question answered and understand the answer so that you know what you have to do. And all of this information should be filled out while you're in the office so that by the time you leave, you have a very detailed plan of action for you between that appointment and the next appointment.
Absolutely. So let's talk a lot about it further. When you come in, especially if you're seeing a doctor for the first time, bring a printout. Write down or type out what your problems are. And it should always be in chronological order. That's very helpful. When did it start? When did it get worse? What you've done for it. So type it all out. It's very, very helpful for the doctor to have your whole history outlined, because a lot of times it's complicated.
And the other thing is, which we tell our clients as well, people tend to understate or exaggerate certain things, and going to the doctor is the last place you want to do that. So if the doctor asks you, do you drink alcohol, and you drink 4 glasses of wine a day, there is not the time to say, oh, I have, a beer a day. Because that's how doctors develop a plan to get you into better shape.
Yeah, we usually can figure that out, though. But that's okay. You could try that, but it probably doesn't work. Another thing you need is to bring your tests, because nowadays patients see 3, 4, 5, 6 doctors. And every time they see a doctor, they have a test. And not all the tests or imaging places are on the same computer system. So we might not have access to everything. Bring the results. And if you can bring the imaging perfect, or if you just bring the reports, bring all the stuff. Also, pharmacy. You get your vaccines from the pharmacy. Bring that information. Go on the pharmacy website, and you can print out your vaccination history. Huge. Vaccine history and imaging or lab results, huge. Because we have to scramble to get the results sometimes, and we might not get it. Might not get it in time to see you, because this way, if I have all the information, I can really give you a good plan. But if I have half the information at the time of service, I might have to bring you back in next week or the week after, and then your family member has to take off from work to bring you. So if you bring all the information, especially the lab results and the radiology testing and consultation notes, if I get all the information at the time of service, I can really give you a plan.
So our time together is drawing to a close. So why don't you, if you would, kind of encapsulate everything we talked about and reiterate how patients can help to lower their prescription drug costs.
Right. So, yes, right now the prescription drug costs are huge and very expensive and has tremendous impact, especially on the elderly. Elderly are not socializing, they're not taking their medicines properly, and it impacts on their health and impacts on their socialization. But we have help now. One is the prescription drug cards. They are, like you said, your prescription was $400 and it went down to $120 magic. You did nothing. It didn't cost you anything. You just went on a website. Magically, it went from $400 to $120. Another thing is actually we didn't talk about is the Canadian prescriptions.
Oh, right.
Okay, I'll give you an example. I have a cream that I need. It was $400, just like your $400 asthma medicine.
Maybe this is the standard billing practice. Did you pay $110 for it in the end?
100. I beat you.
Wow.
I paid 100. So I took the prescription. I mailed it to CanadianPharmacy.com, and a couple weeks later, I got the cream for $100. So, and these are, the medicines are not FDA approved in Canada, but Canada is a reputable country, and it's the same cream, same tube that I got. I have one tube here for $400, one tube here for $100. It's the same tube. So yeah, Canadian pharmacy is an alternative.
Wow. And I think my takeaway from this that I would want to share is, and I'm not plugging GoodRx, I just used it, and it saved me a significant amount of money. You go on the website, you type in your information, you don't give them a credit card, you don't pay them any money, there are no reoccurring costs. And then whenever I go to the pharmacy, I have the app on my phone, I push the app and it shows you where you can buy the medicine and how much it would cost, so you know exactly where to go. It's a great, great service, and I would highly recommend that.
Right, and also go on the websites of the prescriptions.
Right.
Because there are patient assistance programs all the time.
So this was a lot of terrific information here today that will hopefully empower the audience to take some steps to save a significant amount of money, and we're just happy to be able to share this great information. I thank you because you're a wealth of information when it comes to this.
Thank you. Don't be afraid to tell your doctor you can't afford the medication. They can help you.
Great, great point.
Okay, we'll see you. Thank you. Thank you, Richard, for asking great questions.
Thank you.